The year 2020 was bad enough, but these movies made the year even worse. Stay tuned for my top worst horror movies of 2020. And while these are some of my worst horror movies of the year, they're not kind of put in a category of like this one's, the top one. They're just all bad in general, and you should probably have stayed away from them if you haven't seen them. Another point to make is if there's a movie that I didn't talk about or is not listed, it's probably because I didn't think it was horrible or worse than any of these movies, or I didn't end up seeing it. Much like Netflix's The Babysitter sequel, I didn't see it, so it's not gonna make this list. Or The Turning, which I know a majority of people hated, didn't see it, so it's not on my list. So we're gonna kind of dive through this pretty quickly because the list is way much more, and I had to kind of limit myself from looking around because, and unlike most years where I don't really watch too much horror, I'm trying to change that, with the new horror love of the channel and stuff. So I watched a lot more movies this year than I ever watched before. So here we go. Shudder's, a lot of these movies you can find on Shudder. Before the Fire, just talk about a boring fake horror. It's like a drama that really you can watch like the first 10 minutes and then come back in the last 10 minutes, and that's pretty much all you need to watch for Before the Fire. Not a good movie at all. It's like a drama, but not in the way like The Rental was a drama with some really good horror elements. This one, I don't really even think there's any horror in it. So up next, The Owners. Awful movie. It's kind of a premise that you don't see too often. Something, that's kind of flipped here and there, but just not a good movie, not even worth a watch. And one that might surprise a lot of people, The Wolf of Snow Hollow. Not a big fan of the writing on this one. I like the idea of this movie. I like the premise. I like the way it's shot. I'll give Jim Cummings, props on that. But it's the writing and the way he talks very awkwardly. It's just not my cup of tea.
Because of the brutal murder that happened in town, and I didn't want to set up expectations that I can't keep.
Our expectations of you are very low.
Spans of the bites were gigantic, same as the distance of the paw prints.
It's a wolf, or maybe it's a werewolf.
No, let me just make this perfectly clear. There is no such thing as werewolves. Our killer is a guy, and I'm gonna find him, and I'm gonna kill, and we're gonna bring him to justice.
Dialogue in a horror movie, it's just not my kind of thing. I know a lot of people put it on their kind of like best of list, or they had high regards of it. Not for me. Another one that is really surprising by people, The Dark and the Wicked, which is supposed to be coming, I think, to Shudder very, very soon. Modern horrors turned me on to one of the best horror movies I've seen in the year, and they also turned me on to this one. I tried to watch it twice now, and I fell asleep both times. If you're like up very late and you need to like have a lullaby, put this on. It'll definitely maybe kind of coast you into sleeping. It's very repetitive as far as what I remember before falling asleep. It's kind of repetitive. It's like almost like how Paranormal Activity, where it's like something spooky happens, then it's the next day, then something spooky happens, and then it's the next day. So yeah, maybe I'll go back and try to finish it and see if it got any better. The Craft Legacy, ooh boy. What can I say about this movie? I give them props to having a trans character in the movie, and that's pretty much all I give them props on. Not good. The New Mutants, not good as well. I give them props for trying to do something different with the comic book world of film. It was just horrible, didn't work. Becky is another one that just wasn't great. I thought from the trailer that this was going to be really, really good. And James, you know, I thought his character was great in it. I wanted more of that, but kind of was just by the books horror. Becky Bram's The Boy 2. I don't need to say very much. I liked the first one. This one, no. Another one from Shudder, The Pale Door. I like Western horror. Love the premise, love the idea. Didn't like the writing and didn't like a lot of the direction that the movie took, like way after what was revealed. It was just not great. The Evil Eye, coming to us from Blumhouse's sort of 4-pack of horror movies. I really liked 3 of them. Evil Eye was not very good, especially introducing us to this world of horror I've never watched a movie on. The direction on that, the revealing, just the characters themselves, not good. Tales from the Hood 3, we have a review on the channel. I don't really need to say very much about that. Kindred, I liked the idea and I could see where it was going, but the end result was just repetitive and not very good. It's like a rundown, watered down, Hereditary kind of vibe going with that one. And the last 2 on my list, there's probably, like I said, a lot more horror movies that I can mention, but I just kind of went through and I was like, oh, a lot of these I forgot I saw, or a lot of them were like, oh God, that was awful. Like, I never want to go back to that. Spell, I mean, we already kind of have a hard enough time being represented and having success in horror genre being black. Jordan Peele's kind of the only horror director that you can probably name that's black and successful in horror movie genre. Go ahead, and I've talked about this before, but name 5 horror channels that are black that are successful or popular, or you know what I mean, that have the success that you see other channels have. Go ahead and name it. We already have enough hard time in this genre without something like Spell coming along, which I like the idea that it's dealing with voodoo magic. We've seen that done before in movies, but really the characters and the story itself was just not good. It was very repetitive, which, you know, it's like a running theme with all these movies, repetitive. If you saw the movie, you know what I'm talking about, how the character kind of escapes and then goes back and then escapes and then goes back, and it just wasn't good. It just was not good in my opinion. And saving for number 1, which I forgot I saw this movie, and I even forgot that it came out last year, although it's coming to Shudder very, very soon. After Midnight. Oh boy, this was... I saw a lot of movies. A lot of movies were just time wasters. It's like, oh, that's a shame, or that just wasn't good, like Tales from the Hood 3. But this movie, I think it pretty much made me angry, and it's rare that movies do that, but this movie was a complete waste of time. I don't get the fanfare. I don't get how folks are saying, oh, it's really good, it's worth it, or it's really, you know, cool, it's worth a watch. Maybe I'll give them the last couple minutes, maybe like the last 10 minutes of the movie is worth it. Not really worth it, but if you put it on, skip ahead to like the last 10, 15 minutes. But really beyond that, it is so awful and bland and boring, and it goes nowhere. And then that ending, which kind of comes out of nowhere, so I'll give them that. But then it just ends, and you're like, what did I just spend time watching? Like, this was not good. After Midnight, probably one of the worst movies I saw of 2020, more than likely. So that is it for my list. That is it for the worst of 2020. At least we did get some good movies out of it over on our other video, which is our best of 2020. You can check that out. Click the link. Thank you guys for the support on the channel. And I made the announcement that I did get Shudder for a complete whole year. So expect more horror on the channel, more reviews, more Shudder coverage. And as well as we're going to be doing a really cool giveaway when the channel reaches 6,000 subs. So definitely stay tuned for the details on that. Thank you all for the support on the channel. That is it for the worst of 2020. Hopefully 21 is going to be a lot better, but based on the 4 or 5 movies I've already seen, it's looking like it's not going to be any better. So stay tuned for the channel for all the coverage, more stuff, more drops, more videos. Thank you all. And that's it. Peace out.